Good morning to all. Analogies. In order to restructure a pattern, to look at a situation in a different way, to have new ideas, one must start living some ideas. The two problems of lateral thinking are to get going, to get some movement, to start a train of thought, to escape the natural, obvious, glitchy train of thought. The various techniques described so far have all been concerned with generating some movement. So is the analogy technique. In itself, an analogy is a simple story of situation. It becomes an analogy only when it is compared to something else. The simple story or situation must be familiar. Its line of development must be familiar. There must be something happening or some process going on or some special type of relationship to observe. There must be some development either in the situation itself or at least in the way it is looked at. Boiling an egg is a simple operation, but there is development in it. The egg is placed in a special container and heated. In order to bring the heat into better contact with the egg, a liquid is used. This liquid also serves to prevent the temperature from rising above a certain value. In the process, the egg changes its nature. This change is a progressive one that is proportional to the amount of time the egg remains in this special situation. Different people have sharply different tastes about how far they want the process to go. The important point about an analogy is that it has a life of its own. This life can be expressed directly in terms of the actual objects involved, or it can be expressed in terms of the process involved. One can talk of putting an egg into water in a saucepan and boiling it for 4 minutes until the white is hard but yolk still quite runny. Or one can talk of the changing state of an object with the time when that object is subjected to certain circumstances. Analogies are vehicles for relationships and process. These relationships and processes are embodied in actual objects such as boiled eggs, but the relationships and process can be generalized to other situations. The analogy does not have to be complicated or long. A simple activity may suffice. Butterfly collecting is a special hobby, yet the processes involved can be generalized to many other situations. Analogies are used to provide movement. The problem under consideration is related to the analogy, and then the analogy is developed along its own lines of development. At each stage, the development is transferred back to the original problem. Thus, the problem is carried along with the analogy. In mathematics, one translates things into symbols and then deals with these symbols by means of various mathematical operations. One forgets all about the real meaning of the symbols. At the end, the symbols are translated back and one finds out what has come of the original situation. The mathematical operation is a channel which directs the development of the original problem. Analogies can be used in the same way. One can transfer the problem into an analogy and then develop the analogy. At the end, one translates back and sees what might have happened to the original problem. It is probably more useful to develop the two parallel. What is happening in the analogy is transferred to the actual problem. For instance, One might use the analogy of the snowball rolling down a hill to investigate the spread of rumors. As the snowball rolls down the hill, the farther it goes, the bigger it gets. As the snowball gets higher, it picks up more and more new snow. But for the snowball to increase in size, there must be snow. At this point, one is not sure whether the size of the snowball is being compared to the number of people who know the rumor or the strength of the rumor. Does the snow on the ground correspond merely to people who can be influenced by the rumor or to people predisposed to believe this sort of rumor? One is already being forced by the analogy to look hard at the problem itself. A large snowball, perhaps an avalanche, can be very destructive, but if one is forewarned, one can get out of the way. Using an analogy is this way is very different from arguing by analogy. In argument by analogy, one supposes that because something happens in a certain way in the analogy, then it must happen in the same way in the problem situation. The use of analogies in lateral thinking is completely different. As usual, one is not trying to prove anything. Analogies are used as a method for generating future ideas. Thank you very much for watching this video, and kindly comment in the box to improve the channel. Thank you very much.